No, now we are. Wonderful. All right. Hey, everybody. Great to be back. Thanks, everybody, for joining. My name is Jeremy Leduc, and we're here to talk about more AI-powered search and product discovery. And today we're going to be focused on increasing conversion and revenue through a couple key things, right? Which is conversion and engagement. And today I am joined by two guys, two colleagues. First, John Murcott. John is our head of product and strategy. And John's got a great background. John started actually with FatWire, one of the first CMS, content management system platforms ever built. That company was eventually sold to Oracle. And then he spent some time with WorkMarket, focused on a lot of automation, which is very relevant to what we're doing now with HawkSearch. And when that company got acquired by ADP, he did some other things, and then he joined us after working on the whitehouse.gov, apple.com, and salesforce.com. So some pretty big names, John. Thanks for being here with us.
Yep, thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everybody.
We're joined by Jonathan Meyer, our senior solutions engineer. Jonathan has the distinct honor of being in search for 15 years, more than all of us. He's literally been working with search and product discovery for 15 years, and he's been with HawkSearch for over 10 years. He started actually in a support and help desk role, which really there's no better place to start, right? If you want to really understand how to support a product. And since then, he's become our resident expert, our voice of HawkSearch, and our senior solutions engineer. So, Jonathan, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jeremy, for having me.
So let's jump in.
And good thing, Jonathan, your name starts with J. As you know,
Yes.
Jeremy, only people with the letter J can be in the product scene.
So a little bit of housekeeping. You may be here because you know HawkSearch, maybe not. But HawkSearch is a leading all-in-one AI-powered search and product discovery software. And we also layer in merchandising, recommendations, personalization. And we had the distinct honor of really being called out by Gartner last year in the Magic Quadrant for being really big in the B2B space and with a lot of our features. So let's jump in. I wanted to start with a quote because this really struck me. I literally just saw this the other day. And we're going to be talking about some of this today. We're going to be talking about AI. This quote talks about agentic search, or what are called AI agents, right? And those are going off and doing things autonomously for us, like planning and actually acting, right? So go book my flight, for my conference next week and my hotel. What struck me about this was the fact that likely and very likely, that's nearly 75% of the audience surveyed here said that they believe that they're comfortable with this and they believe it can do it. I've never seen technology become trusted so much so quickly than everything we're doing here in AI. I just thought this was an incredible stat to start with, just to show that, and there's tons of other stats, but this just really shows that the trust is there, and we need to deliver as a software company, and we are. So we're going to talk about some of that. So let's talk about what we're actually going to talk about today. We're going to focus in on four things. We're going to talk about conversion and engagement. And so the first thing is conversion strategy. We're going to talk about the fact that relevance, the search that's actually coming up, really needs to be your differentiator. You really need to key into that search experience, and you got to make sure that the relevancy is high so that you're giving people exactly what they came for, because the bar is so high for search, right? We know that everywhere we go, Google, Amazon, the bar is very high. So we're going to talk about that in the context of what we call hybrid search. And Jonathan will talk about that, and it's pretty exciting. But it's bringing all of our capabilities into one experience, and so we'll talk about that. So then we'll kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about engagement. right? And leveraging AI to answer questions and make recommendations and things like that. Very exciting stuff. And we're going to talk about AI and Gen AI to be able to start a conversation and have a conversation with your users on your website, which is also pretty exciting. So with that, Jonathan, let's cut over to you.
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here and we'll get going with that functionality. Excellent. So you guys should be seeing that adventure website there.
Yeah.
And now on our end, what we want to really kind of lean off with when talking about this is to Jeremy's point. The initial relevancy is really going to be one of those big differentiators. And so from the HawkSearch world, we're looking at, well, how can we really deliver on that relevancy without getting in the way of how your visitors want to search? And so the initial way that has always been kind of classically supported since, the site search became a thing was the idea of obviously just doing straight keyword searching. Like, hey, I'm putting in keyword values. We're then looking for matches against these. And as you can see, we're really confident in our ability to deliver on this kind of functionality. This is a leveraging kind of existing HawkSearch functionality of OpenSearch, where we are looking at the product detail information, we're finding those matches, we're delivering the relevant results for that kind of a keyword search. But classic keyword searching has always had kind of an inherent limitation where if you're using terms that don't appear in the data, it doesn't find it. So if I'm saying, what do I need to bring with me on a camping trip? Now, this is a really difficult question for keyword search to solve for, because we're putting in a lot of additional data and context around that search term that doesn't really work for a keyword search, where it's looking for, exact matches on this data here. And so we're getting a match. This is actually still driving that relevancy, but we know that we can improve upon it. We know that we can do better than this. And so that's then when we're leveraging the idea of like a vector search. We refer to this kind of as a concept search, where we're taking all the product information, we're creating embeddings out of those, we're using embeddings to create vectors out of those to deliver these really great results, where we can now pose more open-ended questions like this. And using that kind of a vector search, we're able to bridge that gap of saying, oh, well, this is a sleeping bag, here's some camping pillows, a travel chair, the tents. These are all related to camping trips. And so we understand that even though this isn't an exact match from a product description point of view, it's actually answering the question here. So we're improving on that relevancy one more time here. We've got kind of that good classic keyword search where visitors can come in and do a kind of, hey, I'm looking for keyword, looking for hiking shoes, and we can pull back in the relevant results. But they can also start to ask these kinds of questions, and we can still deliver on those kind of results without having this break down. One of the other kind of cool things with this kind of approach to a vector searching here, though, is that we can also look at not just the product information, but also look at the product images to do something like we're able to now ask a question of the image. Hey, what do I need to bring with me on a camping trip? And this is now just looking specifically at the images and having the AI analyze these images to say, well, what exists in them? And so it's, again, recognizing, oh, we're saying camping trips, so we're seeing tents, we're seeing backpacks, we're seeing things that are, again, related. So we've got 3 different experiences now that all have different strengths in terms of delivering good relevancy to your visitors, and gets out of the way of them putting in terms that might not drive results or might not exactly match, or using concepts or ideas of search terms in terms of actual concrete product attributes. And we're able to deliver on those kinds of experiences. So what we then thought about was, okay, this is some really good functionality. This is really a key differentiator of making sure that regardless of how your visitors come to the site and are searching on this, we can help make sure that they are able to find those products. And then obviously that leads towards conversions. We're not getting in the way of saying, oh, we don't have any results, we don't know what you mean. We are delivering these results consistently, accurately against what the visitor has searched on, leading obviously towards those improved conversions. When we're getting out of their way of, hey, we can't find what you're looking for, naturally that's going to just improve conversions as part of that experience. What we're then doing on top of this, though, is obviously one of the things that we've realized is that going back and forth between the different experiences is not usually ideal, although you can obviously talk to any one of these endpoints directly if you'd like to. But what we're really proud of is that just recently we rolled out our hybrid search, which combines those 3 different methods that I was just showing you into one unified result. It is blending those results together to make sure that we are delivering kind of the best example of those, so that we can do searches like I'm looking for men's hiking shoes, and we'll of course deliver the relevant results for that particular keyword search, accurate to the results that you would anticipate, maintaining all of the merchandising that we've highlighted previously with the merchandising banners and item pinning and so on. But we can then also still ask questions like, what do I need to bring with me? Let's make it a little bit more complicated. Bring with me to cook on a camping trip. And now when we're asking these kinds of questions, we're also not getting in the way of the search results. We are delivering relevant, accurate results that are leveraging all three of those methods that we talked about: keyword searching, concept searching, and image searching, to bring it back in these really just rock solid results here. Hey, what do I need to bring with me to cook on a camping trip? The skillets, the travel stoves, the spices, the pots and pans, the utensils, all relevant results here. And as you can see, I've scrolled all the way down here to the bottom of the first page of results here, and we are still staying hyper relevant to that question that I've posed here.
Jonathan, it's interesting. There's a very interesting conversation happening today in search and product discovery around the search experience itself and what it's going to turn into, right? Given the fact that you just said, there's actually 3 different searches occurring here. And although there's only one search bar, right, that makes it easy. I know we're talking to customers about how do we craft the search experience itself? Do we offer some type of button that shows them, hey, you can start you can search differently, or do we leave it like this? And I know each customer is coming to us differently, saying, this is how I think my customers are going to want to work with my website.
Yeah.
I know in some cases we've even launched this for customers where there's still a search bar and there's still a button that says, oh, do you want to search by image? Go ahead and click this button. So as this industry evolves, our industry, because there's so much advancements happening, I know that we're having to work with each customer to kind of do some discovery and understanding of who they are and who their customers are. And the good thing is we have the flexibility, in our platform that we can deploy this in a number of different ways that you think is best for how your customers are going to want to engage with your website.
Yeah, that is 100% correct. And John, maybe I'll even toss to you to expand a little bit on this, because one of the neat things about this approach, and the reason why we've kind of gone down this path of having these 3 different experiences from a keyword search, and also we haven't even touched on, of course, the ability to upload an image and have that be something that I want to search against to say, hey, I'm looking for this particular product, and leveraging AI again is another way to get visitors to finding what they're looking for, get out of their way to help get to those conversion points. But what I think is important, John, to get back to your point there and build off of what Jeremy was saying, is that we're not kind of locking any of these experiences down. We recognize that each customer that we're talking to might have different needs, different use cases. And so these are all tools in our tool belt that we can pull out and say, hey, here's the right tool for this particular application. We can still drive good part number searching through your kind of classic keyword functionality. But we can understand more of the kind of synonyms and the regional dialect that a B2B client might have, where we can leverage something like a concept search. And these all have their own endpoints, but we wanted to make sure that we, again, are not putting undue effort on our clients by saying, no, we recognize that one of the approaches might be just to roll all of these into one, and then do some guidance here. We usually are recommending now to, like you're seeing here, animate this text box, the search box a little bit, providing some guidance in terms of suggestions of how someone can search, because it's, again, not usually immediately apparent that you could put in a whole question-based prompt here. That's naturally going to change over time as people just kind of expect this functionality across the entire commerce experience, not just Google. But we want to make sure that we're ready for that functionality.
Yep, for sure. The only other detail I would add here, we live in a front-end world that is very componentized, and you'll hear that term that, essentially these front-end applications, they're broken down into components. So to your point, Jonathan, you can think of these all as different components. Sometimes a component will incorporate the unified or hybrid search, so it takes into account all of those underlying details. Sometimes the component is for the conversation, which I know you're going to show as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I would kind of add to this. The way we look at the world is to say we have a bunch of capabilities and components, and then you can pull those together as you see fit. These are examples that we have, but we certainly allow that flexibility.
And actually, that component, I think, is a great segue into the next piece here, because one of the other ways that we believe we can help drive conversion and improve revenue there is by providing additional recommendations and additional guidance to your visitors. So you think about, guided selling, you think about product recommendations. One of the ways that we can start to improve upon this functionality and really, again, be a differentiator in this space is to leverage what we were referring to as a smart response, which is taking advantage of generative AI to look at the results here and then provide guidance, a product recommendation on what we might want to actually do with those results. So let's go back to those examples here. What do I need to bring with me to cook on a camping trip? And when we're doing this now, we're going to go ahead and obviously pull back in the relevant results like we've been showing you here, leveraging again that vector search to deliver on this. But now we're leveraging the generative AI to look at these results and say, okay, let's make a recommendation here. So we've got great results here as a part of this, but we want to make sure that as a part of this response, we're not only delivering the good relevant results, but that we can now provide additional recommendations. We can provide additional guided selling here to say, hey, here's an example of something that you might want to bring with you as a recommendation for that camping trip where we're going cooking. It's going to make a recommendation here for that 2-burner stove. The cool thing about this kind of smart response, two real things that I should highlight there. One, it's looking at just your product data. So we're never going out to like the internet and being like, hey, what would be the best thing to cook on a camping trip? And it returns a product that you don't carry. We're only using your product data, which means it's actually very, very good at delivering responses like this because we're not trying to boil the entire internet to give you a response. We're just looking at your product data to drive this response here. But this response is actually driven in the back end by different prompts and different agents to say, how do we want to answer this? And so as a real quick kind of example of how we can modify this, let's keep in mind the idea that, hey, we're still going to make a product recommendation, but we can change the tone of this. We can change, well, what are the guidelines that we want to do here? So really quickly, I can just toggle this over to a more playful kind of back-end response, submit that same kind of request there, and now our smart response is going to have a very different kind of framing to it because we've changed the prompt in the back end. So maybe you're thinking, oh, well, we would want to do not just a product recommendation, but we'd want to do suggestions on facets or filters, or we might want to recommend a category that someone should look into. That's fully configurable through the prompting in the back end, just as easy as it was just to say, hey, instead of doing this kind of as a standard response, be a little bit more playful with this, speak a little bit more Shakespearean in your response to when you're delivering this result. John, anything you'd add there?
Maybe to go back, Jonathan, to Jeremy's point before, if you could just scroll down for a second.
Yeah.
We, of course, growing up in the world of filters or facets on the left-hand side and the results on the right-hand side, I would say this is a engaging type of user experience. It's showing nice pictures of it and the title of it and the price. But we've always been looking at, Jonathan, the way that you were looking before at the smart search, that these are more ways or additional ways to get those relevant results by using the concept search and the image search as before. This is another way to get more engaging, because I do think it's engaging on the bottom. It's always been a nice interface people are familiar with. But now we're really starting to get to a different level of engagement, breaking out some more details, talking in a tone that's appropriate. I know we're having some fun here, but this could be based on, well, I have some people on the site who are hardcore campers or hardcore hikers. I want to communicate with them differently than I would with a parent who's buying stuff for a family trip, kind of thing. So it's more engaging. And when it's more engaging in that respect, that's what drives that relevancy and the conversion. So we're just keep going deeper and deeper. How do we add more experiences? How do we add more opportunities to engage that experience, which will drive the conversion? That's kind of the way, big picture, I look at this.
And I think a great way to further that engagement would be something like a conversational search. So obviously, when we're thinking about these kinds of responses that we've been showing you here, let's go ahead and do that again. What do I need to bring with me to cook on a camping trip? We're going to go ahead and obviously deliver the relevant results for this particular kind of unified search here, but we can now engage with those results in a conversation. So, again, to your point, John, let's look at the results here. This is, again, engaging. This is relevant. This is, answering the questions. These are good results that we'd anticipate from this kind of experience. But again, another opportunity for engagement. Well, we can leverage that kind of smart response area and that same kind of generative AI functionality in the back end to have an engaging conversation with these results. So I've done a search to say, hey, what do I need to bring with me to cook on a camping trip? And these are all relevant results. But maybe now when I'm looking at them, I'm like, what I really need is a camping stove. So I can now converse with these results. I can say, what travel stove would you recommend for a beginner? And now we're having that back and forth with these results. I've gotten back in a good set of results I could refine using the classic kind of facets and filters, but here's another opportunity for engagement, another way to capture that visitor and get the answers that they're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for a travel stove for a beginner. Here's a conversational response highlighting a particular product for us, saying what would be good, making suggestions for another option. And again, because this is that kind of conversational generative AI approach here, we can go back and forth. I can say, what are some other alternatives? And I'll also go back and forth, look at the data, look at the results that are being returned, and make suggestions for alternative travel stoves that it didn't initially make a recommendation for. Hey, in addition to the initial first two that I suggested, here are several other ones. So we can have this kind of back and forth, getting the visitor into the results that they're looking for. And again, keeping them engaged, keeping them down this kind of guided selling functionality where we're, again, giving them the options on how do they want to engage with these results. Yeah. And John, we were just talking before about, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeremy, please.
We mentioned earlier that, as just everybody's day-to-day use of things like ChatGPT are starting to show them, how search can happen. All of that translates into our search bar too, right? Our customers' search bar. They're simply going to start expecting that. And I know you mentioned it earlier, what type of user are you on this website? Are you a parent looking for your kid, or are you a advanced, backpacker looking for stuff? I think everybody is starting to realize, how to do that prompt engineering we hear about. I do it myself with ChatGPT. I realize I'm now starting to get really specific with ChatGPT when I'm asking it a question about who I am. I'm saying, this is exactly what I want you to give me back. And I think, people are going to simply expect that, right? They're simply going to expect that from any search bar that they're engaging with, including ours. So it's exciting to see all this. I would, if I don't have time, I'll pause here and just put this out to the audience. We've shown you a few things here, right? On the search itself, you understand that there's something called keyword search, right? Where we're literally looking for that keyword matching or SKU matching or part number matching, right? But we've also now shown you that you can search by concept or even the attributes in your image, right? Think about that. The literally you may have never really thought about the fact that if somebody could search on the attributes of your image, you might realize that the content, the description that you have in perhaps your PIM isn't real strong, but your images are really strong. Like, really think about the fact that you could benefit from image search because your images are strong. So as a takeaway, I really encourage you to think about going to your own website, doing some searches, right, and seeing how your current search bar performs. Does it perform really well on keywords and SKU numbers? Probably, right? But does it perform well on when you're trying to describe an image or when you're trying to prompt it like you can ChatGPT? Is it performing well there? And could that benefit? Could that benefit your business if it could? That's really the takeaway. And then with respect to the whole second half of this, which is the experience itself, the fact that you can answer questions and you can give summary. Think about that. Look at your own website and ask yourself, look at this search result and say, if I had a tool that could summarize this search result, would that benefit my user on my website? These are the real takeaways, from any conversation about your search bar today, is you really need to start thinking about this stuff, because all the research is showing in the surveys we looked at the beginning is 75% of people trust all of this new AI technology, that it is going to give them the results they want. And so therefore we have to get our tools to that point. And that's what we're looking at here. So very exciting stuff.
Yeah, completely agree. I think the other thing I'd add on there is just kind of a takeaway is just knowing that this kind of smart response can really be tailored to what what the use cases are that you're trying to answer for your customers. So here we're doing those recommendations. We're again trying to engage with them, make sure that they are seeing that the kind of guidance that they would need to make a choice out of the question that they've posed here. But this response can really be very different based off of what the needs are. So a very common example that we run into is being able to leverage something that we refer to more specifically as a smart answer, where we can now ask questions of the content like we've been talking to. What trails is the Moab 3 good for? And then being able to not only deliver the relevant result for that particular search, but answer the question while then providing direct links to the documentation. So this is just another experience where we're taking that same kind of smart response block, that kind of generative functionality right there, and we can then change on the back end, hey, instead of it making a product recommendation, find the answer to this question in the documentation that we have access to. And again, just a different way of changing the prompting in the back end to deliver on that response.
And I think to this point, Jonathan, if conversion is really the driver, which it normally is, you want to know, are these search results useful? And this is kind of a nice example you were going through, Jonathan, but just think of that area on the top with a nice, clear answer to what you were looking for. And then, by the way, here's the page to buy it, or whatever that call to action is, that link. Ask yourself, is that a good opportunity to improve conversion? Because if you had it in the results below, there's a good chance someone would click on it. So that conversion is going to be there if it does match what the question is. But we're positing here that that's the best way to get a conversion. You're going to click. It's simplified. It's down to the actual question you asked. And there's one link with still the picture of it to click on. So that conversion, clicking on that is what we mainly care about. Do we all agree that that is a good way to really focus a response and get someone to click? Our suggestion is yes, and that's what we want people to try out and confirm.
And that reminds me of the other benefits, right, of deploying newer technology, right, which is customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, right, winning new customers over. Right. If you have a direct competitor who is not doing this and somebody comes and has an experience that is more modern, and they're like, they walk away from your site and having used the search bar saying, gosh, that was pretty cool. That was, I didn't realize, that vendor of mine that I use had such advanced capabilities. Well, also, underneath that person, is also building loyalty with you, and they're going to come back to you and not the competitor who doesn't have this. So I think there's a huge opportunity for that as well. In fact, we even had somebody come to us and literally say, look, we're the leader in our space. A lot of people come to us not just to buy from us, but to actually just simply read our literature. And they said that humbly, like they said, like, look, we don't take it for granted that we're the leader, but because we are the leader, we have to have the most advanced functionality in the industry, period. And that's literally why they went with this. That was the driving factor, was they had to stay on the cutting edge because they knew that as a leader in their space, their entire industry was going to look to them for staying on the cutting edge. And I thought that was incredible that, they came to us with that use case.
Yeah, no, completely agree. This, one of the biggest differentiators that I could say from my 15 years of working in the search space is really just leveraging all of the information that you have access to. Like you're talking about there, is just saying, hey, let's even if you're not the leader in the space, if you can separate yourself from your client, from your competitors by saying, well, we've got all this product information, let's leverage it to help our customers find what they're looking for, not just even from a commerce perspective, which is obviously the end goal, but being that kind of resource. If I'm going to you to get the information from you on how to, what is the best hiking shoe, if I'm going to you to say, what is the best, insulation material, if I'm going to you to say, what is the best dress for this occasion, you're a resource, and that's a natural extension then into the commerce end of it. Like, well, okay, you've answered my question, and you've got the product right here. I'm just going to buy it from you.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, this is perfect, guys. Well, I've got 30 seconds to wrap up to stay on schedule. So thank you so much, guys. This has been tremendous. I will say that so we're doing this every 2 weeks. So March 12 is the next one. And if you've been tracking with us, you'll see that in the very beginning, we broached the subjects of these major concepts: Gen AI powered vector. And we're going to do that again in 2 weeks from now. When it comes to AI agents, we're going to start broaching the subject of what is all this AI agents about, or agentic, and is it really going to increase efficiency and productivity? So that's what we're talking about in a couple weeks. Also very exciting. Thanks so much. We do have a challenge, and I love seeing the results of this. Last note is, if you have something that you think AI could solve, if you go to this link, and you'll get the link in the follow-up email saying thanks for joining. It's a great survey to take, because we love to see the use cases coming in about what you think AI can solve. So Jonathan, John, thanks so much for joining us.
My
And
pleasure.
thank you, everybody. And I hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.